Okay, Garza Aviation. Again, this is a complicated project, and I need to brief the board on this. You've got all this information in your Kindle, but let me start walking through it. First of all, the overall question is ground handling of CSI. One of the questions is, who is CSI? They are a charter airline company. They're contracted with Homeland Security. What they do is they go around the country, they pick up Mexican nationals who are here illegally, gather them up, bring them back here to Yuma, where they're turned over to Immigration and Customs Enforcement, put on buses, and then taken to the border where they're returned to their country. When CSI comes in, they go to airports all over the country. They're going to require, obviously, transit service to turn the aircraft. Normally, that's provided by local FBOs. CSI does contract with Millionaire at other airports. For whatever reason, they do not want to buy fuel here. Because they do not want to buy fuel here, Millionaire has a standard ground handling fee that they charge at all their locations, and they're charging that fee here. Now, CSI, like any business, is always trying to reduce their costs. And so what they're trying to do is find alternative providers. And that's what's causing the problem here. So let me go into it. Now, this is a difficult question, and it goes to answer the question, to understand, put in the right framework, we got to go back a ways. So I'm going to go through these slides here one at a time, or these timeline incidents. Back in January of 2010, after Luxair had departed, the airport authority made the decision that what we wanted to do was to have a nice terminal for general aviation on the airport. And so we signed a contract for $700,000 to refit the Yuma Pilot Center. Okay. Just after that, Garza Aviation signed a lease for the wrong-way hangar. This is their original lease. Their original lease, we gave them an incubator rate at $1,000 a month. Okay, subsequent to that, Millionaire came to the airport. We did a deal with Millionaire, and we rented them half of the new pilot center. And as you may recall, the concept was we would have a nice GA facility. It would have 2 FBOs in there with 2 fuel desks that would be shared by the FBOs. Subsequent to that, CareFlight sold their FBO operations to Millionaire. We then signed an amended lease, and Millionaire now pays rent of $8,600 a month on this building. Subsequent to that, a former employee of CareFlight teamed up with Garza Aviation, and there was a plan to sell fuel on the airport in competition with Millionaire. There was some discussion about that, and ultimately that plan was dropped. In the process, we signed a new lease with Garza Aviation. This was a replacement lease. So the new lease was very specific about the use of premises. And as you can see here, this phrase in the lease, what we decided to do was provide him an even better incubator rate, so Garza Aviation could be dedicated to providing aircraft maintenance and related services as determined by the airport authority. Okay. The terms of the lease, as you can see, the rent started out at $0 for 6 months, and then went up in $250 increments every 6 months. As of August of this year, it was rated to go up to $5,000. $500. Keep in mind that the normal lease on that building would be over $6,000. And then this lease was signed. So this is a contract. And so this is what we're basing our actions on. And if you go back and you look at the two leases, we have a very standard lease that we use for most of our tenants, and we modify them slightly. And in the original lease, we modified it slightly. We said fuel flowage fees are not really applicable, but we knew it was maintenance. But in the new lease, we went through and we took out all references to fuel sales and those kind of things. The old lease said fixed base operation, had the fuel sales concession desk concept in there. And the new lease, we took that completely out, designated it as an aircraft maintenance fixed base operation. Okay, so why are these leases important? This is kind of an industry general question. If you look at our airport, prior to Millionaire being here, we had 6 FBOs. In that period of time, all of them have gone under or sold out for one reason or another. This is something that you're seeing everywhere. Because of the economy, because of the increasing lower margins that you'll find, the smaller FBO operators just can't make it. On our airport, it's particularly important because of the scope of work that we're trying to do. So our lease concept is that we try and write leases that are good for the airport and good for the tenant. And then we enforce those leases. We have learned to our sorrow that if you don't enforce your lease, it comes back to haunt you. If you try and be a nice guy and work around the edges, it's just never going to work out. So we're very specific about our leases and we enforce them. We also make sure that we comply with the FAA's policy on exclusive use. And this becomes a confusing question at times, because a lot of times people will quote this out of context. The exclusive use is the oldest of the FAA grant assurances. You cannot unfairly favor one FBO over another in the normal sense of exclusive use. This comes, in fact, from the FAA Compliance Manual 5190. Okay, but 5190 goes into a lot of detail, and it talks about exclusive use versus minimum investment. These are quotes out of the Compliance Manual, and you'll see that the FAA recognizes that some FBOs are different from other FBOs, and what you can do is you can establish different fee schedules and different requirements to include minimum investment requirements for different kinds of FBO. So when we were going through this process, we developed a pretty comprehensive set of protocols for full service FBO, which was Millionaire. And in fact, we called the FBO when we were talking about Millionaire, and we called the FAA when we were talking about Millionaire, and we called them again when we were talking about Garza Aviation. Because in fact, the exclusive use premise here, we had to be very careful with Garza Aviation because we were giving them a very reduced rent to Garza Aviation. So when we talked to the FAA about it, in all cases, the FAA said, yes, what you're doing is legal and smart, and we recommend that you do it that way. The reason that we were able to provide a reduced rent to, in fact, a subsidized rent to Garza Aviation is because they qualify as a SASO, a single service provider. And again, this is a quote from the Compliance Manual. These type of companies differ from a full service FBO in that they offer a specialized service such as aircraft maintenance. Okay, it goes on to say that your minimum standards can be modified to take advantage of the opportunities that a SASO can bring to the airport. Now, in our case, we really wanted an aircraft maintenance provider on the airport. Because we are a small airport, we were concerned about a startup company being able to pay a big rent and still get started and get going. So we provided a reduced rent. It also says that an airport should not, without justification, require that a single service provider also meet the criteria for a full service FBO. In other words, we didn't require an investment from Garza Aviation like we do require a large investment from a full service provider. And the reason I bring this up is because it's important that our full service FBO be able to handle the kinds of customers that we're trying to bring in. It takes a lot of money to put in the equipment, to put in the facilities to handle an aircraft like this, where the price tag starts at over $300 million.
$3 million.
Huh?
Not 300 million, $3 million.
No, this aircraft is $300 million. And so to take care of an aircraft for $300 million, you've got to have pretty sophisticated equipment to do that. So we have an obligation then, as the airport